So, welcome. Thanks for coming, everybody. So I'll do the 7 habits of highly effective people thing will be pretty quick this week, and then I want to talk about more administrative stuff, but we'll go right into it. So we've talked through habits 1 through 4, and so leading up to the end of the book and like the end result, you get into more interpersonal communication skills and how to interact and deal with people better to get better results. Because most of the things in life that you want to happen usually involve dealing with other people, and the better you are at dealing with other people, the better you are going to be at producing whatever you want to happen in your life in really any aspect, whether that's at work, like in your personal life, wherever. So habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And this is especially important whenever you're having a disagreement or what you might call like a conflict with someone. Usually a conflict is just two people who see something a certain way and are struggling to get the other person to see it the same way, and they can't come together. So it always takes, if for any conflict to ever be resolved, it takes one person to basically level up their thinking and go to a higher level and say, okay, let me put aside my pride and need to be right now. Let me actually listen to what they're saying. And the person that does that actually winds up having a better chance of getting what they want than the other person. The person who goes higher and, okay, let me understand them first, is more likely to get what they want out of the other person. You guys follow that? So what this really means is, you have to be able to, if you're in a disagreement with someone, or you're not seeing eye to eye, or you feel like there's going to be a conflict, you have to be able to take a moment to, the way I see it, is pause and actually not react to the instant emotional urge to like go off on someone or yell at them or make a disparaging comment, like talk shit about them basically, or resist the urge to go insult them and do what my emotions tell me to do. Take a step back, do what is going to be most effective to actually get the outcome that you want non-emotionally. We all kind of know what we want, and the reason we don't get it typically is because we fuck up what we should do because we're getting emotional and we do something stupid that we later regret. If we're being honest, we later regret it because we could have just stayed calm and stayed chill and probably worked through it with the person and actually got what you wanted out of the situation. So that's what habit 5 is really about, is seeking first to understand, then to be understood. And one place that I've seen this be really effective is most remodeling companies, when they get a customer on the phone who's really unhappy or upset or whatever, they, in a nutshell, just kind of tell them to fuck off and answer and hang up the phone. If you haven't noticed, we don't do that really ever. And the reason we don't is because we're able to keep pretty calm and collected because we've practiced habit 5 so much of seeking to understand the other person first and then conveying our understanding what their concerns are and then going through what the actual explanation is, that it's kind of just trained into us over here. And you guys, I've seen a lot of you do that as well, but I want you to really focus on that from now until forever, hopefully. If there's someone who is upset, try to really understand genuinely what they're upset about. Don't project your own home movies onto them. Don't project and say, oh, they're upset, they must be upset about this. Ask them why they're upset. Find out specifically from them what is bothering them. And then it's probably, frankly, typically it's something stupid and they're misunderstanding anyways, especially if it's on a job site. They're probably just not understanding that things go in certain steps. And even though you left a cabinet shimmed and there's a gap between it and the wall, you're gonna put a piece of trim up. You know what I mean? And they're like, you can't leave it like that. Rather than reacting and being emotional about it, just say, and by the way, this isn't like a rampant problem, but it's something that I definitely see. I'd rather it be at 0 than at 1, like, because why not? We can be awesome, so let's be awesome. But it's really fundamentally about getting to the core of what they're really upset or unhappy about, and then conveying your side of the story. And most people, once they're heard, then they're open to hearing you. Until you've heard the other person, they literally can't hear you. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like, I'm sure you all actually notice this. When you're in an argument, the other person can't hear you. Literally, their brain can't hear you until they feel like you have heard them. And like I said before, the person who goes up to that level of listening to them first, they actually win. It might feel like you're being, like you're backing down or you're like being a pussy. You're not. You're actually getting more of a chance to get what you want out of the situation. That's the thing about these habits, is they're all very altruistic and they're like nice and lovey-lovey and feel good and warm and fuzzy and all that. But they're actually basically a step-by-step guide on how to, like, tactically Machiavellian style get what you want out of life. So that's all I'll really say on this. Does anybody have any questions or any comments or any anecdotes or stories about when they've done this and it's worked?
When do I get to yell at everybody for being fucking idiots?
Well, you have to understand
Idiots first.
you have to understand why they're idiots. Then you can make them understand why they're idiots. Okay, so my next topic of conversation is
recording this, John, so you can listen to it again.
exactly. It's perfect. So the next topic of conversation is changes and growth. So changes are going to be basically the way that we run our jobs. Right now, if you think of our job timeline, and I'll kind of draw this down here, we have like different chunks essentially of this would be crew A or person A, this would be person B, and this is time. And then the person C, and then maybe person B comes back to finish out a job. And this would be demo. This would be demo. This would be like rough-in, framing stuff, and this would be finish, or maybe like drywall, tile, stuff like that. And then there'd be like finish trim work over here. Okay, so that's kind of how we do things right now. How we're going to do things, I'm just gonna, since we've already talked about that, I'll erase that. How we're going to do things is a crew of one lead guy and 1 to 2 helpers is gonna go like this from start to finish. If there are subcontractors, they will get inserted in, but that's it.
And still, A is looking out. Whoever's that lead person is on that job is looking out and making sure that the subs did their job right.
Right. That A person, whoever that is, with the way that we're now quoting our jobs, and literally we just changed the way that we did this basically a week ago, and this system comes from this guy, Jason Avery, who's built a really well-running construction company in the local area. They're local. They do a lot more down in Clearwater and St. Pete. But we connected with him and we've had a lot of really good discussions with him about how he runs his company. And he literally does the exact same thing as us. Literally, it's remodeling, kitchens, bathrooms, room additions. It's the same niche. And what he's found is that A person, that lead person, if he bids the whole job for that person to do it, they make more money, so they're better compensated. B, they are able to take more responsibility for the job, and they don't feel like shorted, or they don't feel like somebody else came in after their work and screwed up the great work that they did, because they did from A to Z, so they got to own it. And they've also found that their jobs just run more smooth, especially for management, and there are just less headaches when that one person is responsible A to Z, and the only people they really have to worry about other than them and their helper is the plumber or the electrician or the HVAC guy, or whatever subs come in, because that's kind of out of our control to some extent, but we're going to work on that as well. Now, as far as what that really means for you guys, It means that if you do not know how to do a trade that would be required in a kitchen or bathroom, for example, tile or cabinetry or trim or drywall or whatever it is, there are set steps. Where's that box of estimated sheets? There are set steps. Well, plumbing and electrical, that's not a deal breaker. But the things that are in our license that are, demo, masonry, framing, windows and doors, drywall, painting, tile, cabinets, trim and doors. If you don't know how to do one of those things I just said, learn it. Learn it quickly, because this is where we're moving to. If you aren't actively trying to cross-train and learn those things, there's not going to be a place for you. Okay? Because when you start seeing the way that our ticket pay is broken out for that lead person, we're not going to have an issue with the way we're now breaking out for ticket pay. We're not going to have an issue finding people who are capable of doing all that. Okay? So what that means is we're going to give everybody an opportunity to get trained and cross-trained. We're not just going to be like, oh, you can't do tile tomorrow, kicked out. That's not how we roll. You guys know that. But there has to be growth in any area that you're weak on, and you have to actively seek out cross-training to figure that stuff out so that you can run a job from A to Z on your own. Now, obviously, to some extent, there's going to have to be wiggle room, between now and, let's say, 6 months from now, when I'd love to have all of this sorted out and we'll really have it dialed in. So there's going to have to be some wiggle room where somebody might have to come in and we might have to. So the way we're going to try to do this is we're going to have subs try to pick up for those weak spots in people. So like, let's say somebody, isn't comfortable doing a half of a house or an addition in drywall. We have a drywall sub we can bring in. If you're not comfortable doing tile, there's a tile sub we can bring in. There's the only things that really are not negotiable would be like trim, cabinets even can be subbed. Our cabinet guy can install the cabinets. But then, obviously demo you need to be able to do, and you need to be able to do it right. And then framing really needs to be in-house as well. We don't really have subs for those because we're all to a certain competency level to where we haven't ever sought out a sub for that. So that's what we're moving to. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah.
If there is something like that that's not really a job that's big enough to like sub out,
Yep.
we sub from within ourselves where we're like, hey John, I want you to do this frame for me. Can you do that? I've got to pay this is what it pays.
We can do that. Keep in mind that, say it was John, for example, who you want to bring in to frame something.
I can reject it and be like, nope.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. It's between.
More likely to lie. Well,
No,
John loves to be busy
but-
doing your own hands, eh?
That's what I was going to say is, but, so here's the nice thing about this. If you are, yeah, right, exactly, that's a good point, Brian. That's what I was about to say. John is probably going to be busy doing his own stuff. But, if let's say, Daniel, you're on a job and you're here and this is framing, and John's on a separate job, and he's, here, and he's on punch out, but remember, he has a helper with him who he can leave to do punch out. John, I don't give two shits whether you leave that helper to caulk all the baseboard and you go over and frame something for Daniel for a day. And the other super important thing that I didn't mention about this is that A person tells us how much any of the B people on their job site make out of their ticket pay. You tell us how much the helpers are making. So anybody who's not a lead, yeah, exactly. If they kill it, I would suggest rewarding them appropriately, which I think any of you guys who know the lead people in our company, they're gonna take care of you. Like, they're not assholes. Assholes don't last a long time here. No, John's a softie deep down.
He just got a crust.
So the lead guy is gonna tell us how much the helpers are gonna get paid, okay? That, honestly, I don't even really feel like that's that big of a change. And I feel like for anybody who really owns their stuff already and is doing well, they're gonna do even better under this system. Because what it's creating is, if you're a lead person who's decent at getting organized, you could be running multiple job sites at once. If you're able to figure out how to get your helpers running. You might have to pay them a little bit more, but if you're making money off of multiple heads, instead of having a, let's say you're an A guy and you got just one B guy and you make 80 and he makes 20, this is not real numbers, but if you have two B guys and instead of 20, you have to pay them each 30, out of 200 minus 60, how much is left? 140. So instead of 80, you're not making 160, but you're making 140. It's still better, okay? Now that's kind of a loose, vague example, but you kind of see the point. So is there anything you wanted to add to that, Jeff? Is there anything I missed? Any important points? Like implications of?
I did have one that popped into my head, but then now it's gone. So when
Good.
I'll type up that it comes
Great.
back into my.
Okay, cool. What else do I want to talk about? I think I'm gonna actually hold off on talking about that. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about is managing impressions, and then we'll talk about job site cleanliness. So managing impressions. One thing I've noticed is that we struggle to sell ourselves as the work is happening to the customer. There are a few people in here who do it, and we very rarely have an issue with their jobs, and the customers are actually more lenient as to the quality of the work. Isn't that interesting? If you are, as you're going, talking to the customer, telling them about explaining the process of what you're doing, if you're communicating what's happening to them, they actually give you more leeway and they put less scrutiny on your work. So that's something that, I can't force you to do this. There's no feasible way for me to say, yo, you have to do this. It's just something I would encourage you to do. Communicate to the customer as it's going on. They're gonna be way more forgiving if there's things you have to redo. There's gonna be just much more leeway, and it's not a permission. Like, I'm not saying that as a permission to do shitty work. Like, you should always be striving to improve the quality of your work, but at the same time, we are human beings and life happens, okay? Like sometimes your saw is a 16th out of where you thought it was gonna be, and your gap on your outside corner trim is, an 1/8 instead of a 16th, where if you caulked it, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell. If you've been communicating with a customer, they're not gonna be like, that's a terrible caulk joint. They're gonna be like, the trim looks so nice when he was done, and they're gonna focus more. People care more, and at the end of the day, it's just wood, right? It's just wood. People don't care about wood, people care about other people. So at the end of the day, they're gonna care more that you were nice and you communicated with them. And you gotta realize we're in people's homes and we're turning them into construction sites. And this is something that I have to realize as well, because I'm not super empathetic to this, because I don't live in it every day like you guys are. But we're turning people's job sites into their homes into job sites, and it's, our reviews are great, but they could be even better. We could get even more.
To add to this, when there's an issue on a job, this is remodeling, so that's when there's an issue on the job, because there's going to be. If you communicate that to the homeowner, unless it's something that is just so, it's not a big deal, but if it's going to affect the quality of the job, like, hey, you're checking the floor and it's out of level, there's like a high spot here and a low spot here right next to each other. It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be an issue. If you just try to cover that up, because that's the substrate we're dealing with, that's your house, and you don't say something and say, yes, there is a cure, we can fill in the low spot, we can grind down the high spot. Here's what it's going to cost to do that, and here's what's going to happen. We're going to have some dust kicked up, we're going to, we'll try to contain it as best we can, but there's going to be dust, it's going to look this way, and this is what it's going to cost. If they make the decision to just, I don't want any additional costs, this is what it's going to be. Now when they come and see that uneven spot in the tile, we're not having to do it after everything is dried and cured, and they walk into their home and they're like, why is this high? You got to fix this. And it really puts everybody in a bad spot. Who likes to go in and remove a tile that's been set?
Yeah.
Take that,
Nobody.
tediously take the grout out without chipping the surrounding tiles. Nobody likes to do that.
Yeah.
Don't put us or you in that position, communicate it. Let them make the decisions on those things. Their walls are out of square. Sometimes they're out of square grossly. I mean, we're talking like a 10-foot wall and it's an inch out of square. It's gonna show. We're not using out of square products anywhere. So,
And just so you guys know, we just don't have time. We don't have time to put a 6-foot level on every wall in every shower that we estimate. You know what I mean? Because you got to think, if I'm estimating 10 jobs, probably only 2 of those are actually going to sell. So in order to get through all of those and make the money that we need to pay you guys what you want to make, I don't have time to go into every shower. All I do is measure it, and basically actually that's it, because I know based on the measurements what all has to go into it. But we assume that floors are level and that walls are square, and if they're not, we can't take responsibility for that. It's not feasible for us to take responsibility. But like Jeff was saying, if we explain it and we're like, hey, we always assume that walls are square and that floors are flat, even though that's not always the case, we don't have time to check every single one before we start. Now, if you figure it out and you tell them before we put the tile down, and you say, hey, call the office if you want to know a per square foot price to level the floor so it is perfectly flat or smooth, then that would be a good course of action. But typically, just so you guys know, we assume that walls are square, floors are level and relatively flat.
and if we're pulling out carpet, there would be no way to check
Right.
beforehand anyway
Exactly.
before you're there, even
Yeah.
if we were to pull it out.
Right.
So
Yep.
just keep in mind, if there's an issue that's causing you an issue, communicate it to them and let them know there is a remedy. This is what the remedy costs, because that's ultimately their decision then. If we just cover it up, now it's on us. So don't do that. Don't just assume that they're going to accept it if it's not like it's supposed to be. You can tell them afterwards, oh, there was a high spot there. Well, why didn't you get rid of it? Very good question, ma'am. Or sir.
Yep.
Some people are gonna notice these things.
Yep.
And
Yep. So as you're going, call stuff like that out. Yep. And let the customer know if they make a big deal out of it, then escalate it to, okay, well, you got to call the office because they'll basically explain what's going on. But your tagline in situations like that should be, when Home Love Construction bids a job, we assume that walls are square and floors are generally flat and level. Can everybody remember that? Can we also, well, we won't say it together, that would be a fucking mess. Okay, walls square, floors generally flat and level. And that's all you gotta, and that's it. That is our assumption. We'll even put it in our contract. Boom, done. Okay?
okay.
Yep. So,
You can assume all you want.
yep. So, yeah, exactly. Well,
The reality of it.
it's not a,
Most of them are not bad enough to where we
Yeah.
cannot cover it up with just minimal effort.
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes there's going to be a sign in there, especially if it's a large format tile.
Here's the difference between the typical way that you go through assuming. If you assume something and you tell them that you assumed it, it's all good. Then it's actually not even really it's just a existing condition. So we're just gonna tell them. It's just about communication.
Sorry, man, but I cycled
So-
down your wall and it looks like a snake.
At the end of each day, we're doing a better job at this than we were before. We're probably at about a 75 out of 100 for where I'd like to be. Job site cleanliness. You all are getting your daily checklists attached to your work orders. You need to start using those. If you go through every item on that checklist, we will be at 110% of what I want for job site cleanliness. Okay? All of our expectations are clearly laid out on that checklist. Most of you do it anyways. Before you leave, make it a habit to just go through it and be like, did I do this? Yes, 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 yes. Make a note on this date, completed checklist, boom, done. Okay? The better that we leave our jobs at the end of the day, again, the more leeway we're gonna have when when our supplier is on back order for a tile they thought they'd have it in a week. When the glass shower door comes in cracked and we have to order a new one. You know what I mean? When that stuff happens, we'll have more leeway if we're the consummate professionals that leave the job site clean at the end of the day, have been communicating the whole time, and people are generally happy to be around even though we turn their house into a construction site.
Shower doors, bad example. They don't crack, they shatter.
Okay, fair.
They're supposed to be tempered.
Yeah. You want me to talk about mats? Oh, trainings, yeah. When is the next one? Thomas, what is the date? The 14th? Wednesday, the 14th for ProSource? You see on that paper? On the paper.
On 14th.
Oh, here.
It's 14th? Okay, so on August 14th, what is it? Is it Ardex large format?
Large format.
Okay. Okay, so on Wednesday of this coming week. Okay, so on Wednesday of this coming week, they're actually starting them at 5:30 now, so you guys have a little bit more time to do whatever you need to do. Training at ProSource on large format tile. Now, I know what you're thinking. We don't set large format tile. We would sub that out. Go anyways, because two things. One, you're gonna learn more about mixing thin set correctly and how to apply tile, like these guys are tile pros. So you're gonna pick up little things that you didn't know anyways about tile and thin set and shit like that. The second thing is, if you go to 10 trainings in a 12-month period, you get $600 added to your paycheck, okay? So
That's what that.
a couple people, exactly. So if you look at that board, we're tracking who's where. So right now, Thomas has 4 trainings in, and there are a couple people at 1 or 2. So that basically is what it is. No, John has 1.
You got one?
I got one.
Yeah. So if you want to fit better into this system and you want $600, go to the training on Wednesday at 5:30 at ProSource. And
Beer.
they have free, yeah, they give you pizza and beer too.
Initiative alone,
Yeah,
for an hour and a half of your life, they have free food and beer.
right, exactly. Easy. Yeah. So,
And free knowledge.
and free knowledge, exactly. Yeah, yeah, for real.
Okay.
The last thing, and we're gonna,
For the kids.
what is it?
Oh,
The names are in there.
can I
The
reiterate
names
on
for what?
cleanup,
To draw it?
sir?
Can I reiterate on how to install a microwave?
Stop. That, we're gonna do that as a one-to-one conversation. So we're going to be getting, we found this and this is cute. So somebody's gonna leave with this, but we're gonna be getting custom doormats printed that are basically gonna travel with you, like imagine like your yard sign, and you're gonna put this down when you come to a job, you're gonna put it out on the customer's doorway so that it's an extra step of, oh, they actually care and they're actually trying to keep my house clean, and it's gonna say Home Love Construction on it, so it's gonna be good branding as well. And anybody who comes through the door is gonna see it.
When we're done, we get to take it.
No, take it with you. Yeah, yep, it's gonna travel with you.
Oh, just to further clarify, this new system that we're bringing in is 100% about management and managing jobs better.
Yeah,
Right? So
yeah,
it's kind of like you guys managing your jobs properly and the lead guy managing that job properly frees us up in here to do our jobs better. And our job is for you guys to make a better work experience and for you guys. If you show up and the products are there, if we're not putting out fires,
the
we're
product will
able
be
to
there.
actually make sure that things are organized.
Exactly.
We don't forget as much to call a subcontractor that you needed because we had somebody else's mistake to fix.
Yep.
Or a customer phone call that we had to handle, or any of these other things. When we can do our job better, it's gonna make your job better. The worse you guys are at doing what you're supposed to be doing and the accountability on what you guys are supposed to be doing, the more hassles that we have to deal with, the worse the environment gets, and it's cyclical. It's like a really bad cycle to get into, and it's like a toilet. You're just circling the drain. So the idea with this is accountability, and if you can't be
Brian Thomas.
the consequences for not doing a good job are going to be felt immediately in your pocket, because this is it. If you can't do it for this, we will find somebody who can, because this is what the market will pay for this job. And this is what people are doing that work for. So we can hire somebody, a subcontractor, to come in and do this job right now. That's basically it. So if you're not making money, it's because you're not being effective. And then look in the mirror, figure out why you're not being effective. If you can't figure out what tools you need on the job, then you need maybe put a checklist together so that when you're doing different types of work, you have a checklist to make sure you have all the tools that you might need.
Love that.
Okay? Just, yeah, you carry a trailer, we know.
How much? No. How much will I get paid to babysit subs?
You will get
Nothing.
paid what is on that sheet.
You'll get paid nothing as babysit subs. Because you won't babysit subs.
Why not? I'd love to. I'd love to get paid to babysit subs. I don't have to bust out a hammer.
Well, if you're the lead, you are going to be a lead guy on a job. There is money in there for that.
Nope,
job.
there's not. Not from the lead guy doesn't manage subs. That's what the project manager's job is.
Well, you're going to be checking out and making sure they did a good job before.
If the
they pay.
subcontractor's work is not to standard, we call them back.
Yeah.
They fix
And
it.
then we call them back before they get paid. So in that regard, you're not going to be fixing their mistakes because they've already been paid and gone and we can't get them to come back.
Now, the caveat to that is, it would be a good idea to help everybody prevent a timeline delay. Because the thing is, the faster you get through these jobs, the more money you make. And this is all about aligning us all together. The more money we all make. So if you want to go and check in on a sub just for like 10 seconds, because you know instantly if they're doing a good job or not. Immediately, the second you walk on the job site. If you just check on them just to be sure they're doing it right, so you're not going to get slowed down with what you have to do afterwards, that is a good idea.
And talk to them like humans. Very important. Don't go in there and be like, this is a mess, this is a mess, this is a mess. Be like, hey, on our job sites, this is how we are doing it. We don't, don't set up in a hallway. Don't do this over here. I mean, if there's no choice to set up in a hallway, that's, it's understandable. But don't block the path. Don't spread out and take up the whole house. You need to do it clean. Make sure that they're bagging things so that they're not doing stupid
Kyle
things
guy
for us to clean up later.
over at Mia's, awesome.
He's a good guy. Yeah,
Like, just
he's a good guy.
from everything I've seen so far,
Mhm.
they're really,
He's a good
really
dude.
So,
That's Zach Andrews.
good.
Cool. Happy to hear it. Thanks for that feedback. That's
That's
good to know.
Knowing that, if you can learn and then share with other people who are going to have him on their jobs, what kind of things that he likes to have prepared, so that we can also be better customers for them too. Like if they have like little idiosyncrasies, which I know we already have run into.
The tile would have been nice, but that wasn't on us.
It happens.
At any rate,
Asking a lot.
again, even when you come in, you can measure and get square footage, but until you do your layout, things can pop up with tile, which did in this particular case. Totally unexpected. We had it measured, bought enough for that, and then we added 10 more square feet, and we're talking about a shower surround. 10 extra square feet above what it is usually significant enough in a job that's only like, 60 or 70 square feet.
Yeah.
Tile in a certain type of tile.
Yep.
But just try to be aware of your next customer, which is the guy that's going to be behind you. That's the guy you're doing the work for, and make sure that you've done the best job possible. And if there's a hiccup or something, like, hey, we did the demolition on this, there's termite damage, not framing's not on my work order and leaving. Make sure we need 3 2x4s have to be replaced, pressure treated, whatever it is, the dimensions, figure it out so that you can turn that in as a purchase order when they come into the office, so that Ben grabs the materials that we need, so when the next guy shows up, he's got exactly what he needs for that unforeseen termite.
They are the next guy, remember? They are the next guy, remember? It's them.
Well, yeah, and as far as that goes, the lead guy is the next guy. So,
So it's the same guy. Yeah.
true statement.
Yep.
So at any rate, also we hired a new salesperson, or he's not starting yet until he's got a job that he's working on to finish. He'll be coming in. Until he starts getting a paycheck, he is gonna be kind of taking on a project manager role so that we can keep him from starving to death until his commission checks start coming in on the jobs that he is selling. So when he comes in, we'll be obviously introducing him to everybody, but understand his role as project manager is just that, to help manage the projects and the subcontractors and what's being done, and help facilitate when you turn in a purchase order, that purchase order gets given to Ben, it gets sent to the right job, and that things are just managed better so that we are dealing with less in here. So please cooperate with him. And he's not the boss of the lead man on that job. He's just there to facilitate the lead man's needs and make sure that things are done in a timely manner. So, what was his name again?
Wes.
Wes. Wes is his name. So if you see a strange face in the next few days, it's probably going to be, or in the next few weeks, probably him.
Okay.
Anything else? There's more food up here?
Who in here has made money off of a bonus for getting a positive Google review? 1, 2, 3. You haven't?
Google review?
Google review? No?
At least I haven't been told about it.
I actually don't think you've got. I think because you were gone to Montana when we really started pushing that. If you guys are not getting Google reviews, you're missing out on free money. It's $50 per Google review. So if it's a couple that we're working for, I'll give you $100 if they both leave a 5-star Google review. Okay? That is our determined value of a 5-star Google review. It's actually more than $50, so we can easily afford to pay you $50.
What about a
Don't
video
forget it.
testimonial?
Oh my
What
God.
pay can we get for a video testimonial?
Well, that's kind of more on me because I have to go out there and actually do it.
Can't just do it on my phone. This is
Dude,
what they
okay,
said.
yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely.
I'm
If
just saying, 'cause that's
100%, actually, that's a great point. That's a great point.
They
If
haven't
you-
seen a computer forever.
Yeah, well, that's even more valuable. We can do $75. If you get a customer at the end of the job, you take a video. The video has to be not on a potato. I have to be able to see and make out that they have eyeballs. Like they can't be a blur. Okay, you have to actually be able to see them. We have to meet a minimum quality. But yeah, I will all day pay $75 if you get a video testimony of the customer and you can hear them saying they did a great job, blah blah blah, yada yada yada.
And it would be nice if they were standing like in front of the project. Would be helpful
Yeah.
as well. But try
That'd
to
be
think
good.
about what would I like to see if I'm going to see this on the video. This is the job, and you can kind of scan to it, have them close enough where you can actually hear them give the testimonial in the recording.
Yep. But
So a non-noisy
Oh, we
environment.
have media guys. There's that.
no.
But yeah, I mean, think about how you're doing it so that we're actually going to get value for the money that we're
Yeah.
going to give you.
Well, we're not going to pay you if you can't. If it's not, yeah.
It's not useful.
90% of
Yeah.
the time I was lying.
Okay. All right. Good. Good meeting. Good Friday. Ready, break.
We